Hi again, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the ShopBirdy Design MCP server. But before I do that, I just want to go and give you a bit more background into why we actually built this in the first place. So I'll close the product scan tool here. I can close that. Also, a cool thing is that this system actually has AI chat overlay, so you can extend this to provide you information about whatever you're looking at, and I'll get into some more examples of that with the MCP server. But here the AIs are having conversations back and forth based on what it sees. In this case, it's looking at my shirt and finding that it's a product and just commenting on it. So that's kind of fun. So let's get into this real quick. All right. Now, if you can still see my screen, I'm going to do a quick product search using AI web search by iPhone 15 near me. What this does is it takes into consideration my location and any other personalized details I want to share, and it's finding the closest location to where I can find the iPhone. And here it's saying you can get it at the Apple Store in Central World. But as you'll notice, we typically have to rely on a fallback image because AI web search struggles when it comes to rendering product images if they're coming from other websites. And the reason for this is because of cross-domain transportation and transfer. There's a technical term, but essentially what it means is that you can't load an image from one website and embed it directly into your own website unless that website has given you permission on the server. So what happens is the experience for shopping for products using ShopBirdy tends to not have any images. So that got me thinking, it's like, how could we use AI image generation to essentially manage product catalogs autonomously and at scale? And that was one of the main inspirations for building the ShopBirdy MCP service. Now, I do have a documentation website, so you can go to dev.shopbirdy.ai, dev.shopbirdy.ai, and you can get access to information on how to use this MCP service. And I'm updating this continuously, so I'll be pushing a new update actually on this video. The first thing I want to do is I want to add two images that I created, and we'll get into what these images are in just a moment, but I want to add these two images to my website. So I have MCP in my developer environment, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the ShopBirdy MCP to analyze these images. Use your Gemini Analyze tool to describe these images, if I can type, so we know what they are. Because I have the MCP service installed, essentially what I need to do is upload these images to the ShopBirdy server, because it will fail if I try to analyze it locally. It needs to be hosted on a server. Again, this is somewhat related to the issue I mentioned in the beginning of the video, whereby image location and the ability to reference those images, you need to manage that on the server side. So so this may fail, and then I'll have to prompt it again to actually upload it to my server. Let's see if it's running. It looks like it is. It's probably going to say it cannot because the local paths are not accessible on a remote MCP server. That's fine. So that's going to fail. What I need to do, yes, let's use that curl command. That's actually the right thing to do. It knows to do this because the information has been previously shared in the MCP tool. So if it fails, the AI agent can actually understand some of the common fail cases and pitfalls and help redirect you. So I'm going to ask the service. Let me switch over to this model for a second. It gives me more runtime. Please upload both images to the ShopBirdy MCP server and use the authenticated token. Use curl commands to do this. Let's see if it can figure that out. I actually wanted to try this as a dry run. I didn't actually do this today, so I'm not sure if it'll work the first try, but we'll debug it as we go. I don't think I want it to convert to base 64. Not convert to base 64 at this time. Essentially what base 64 is, it's a way to represent an image completely using text tokens. It's saying that it must be base 64. Okay, we can try. If it fails, read the docs to understand how to follow the golden path. Again, these agents are not trained specifically on my tool, so it has to rely on its reasoning to understand what to do. In fact, I don't know if this will work, but we'll try it. The problem with base 64 is that an image represented as text tokens cryptographically is a very, very long string. And what happens is this immediately fills up the context window. So if you are using base 64, you're going to exhaust all of your context very quickly. if you're sending it through AI agents or within AI chat. However, if you're sending this completely as an I/O operation, that should work. Argument list too long curl, so it can't do that. It's going to try a JSON file. Let's see if that works. That did work. Okay, so we just try a different file format. We have to convert it, and then we can upload it. And I believe the MCP server does allow for multiple file formats. Now we're going to analyze that image. Hopefully that works. And by the way, since I exposed the API token here, I'm going to have to regenerate this. In a real use case, each company, each user would have their own unique token, which they can use to authenticate with the system. So it looks like it worked. So I've now sent these two images. And while this is running, essentially what I want to explain about these images is effectively you can condense you can do a full month's worth of work within one day, which is pretty incredible. So already ShopBirdy can provide a huge speed up for product teams, for e-commerce teams, for designers. You can run this agentically and generate 10,000 images. However, due to certain limitations on how many times you can request an API or how many different generators are available, you'll have to order these. But with parallel processing and scaling up the number of generations, you can actually do 100 times in the same amount of, you can generate 100 images in the same amount of time it would take you to generate one image. And if you do this over a number of minutes or hours, you can actually do 10,000 images in a single day if you're on the max run plan. If you're just using the solo version, which is the version I'm demonstrating here, to run through and generate 10,000 product images will take you approximately 35 days, and that's with this running continuously in the background. But if you scale this out and you actually have 100 different servers all running at the same time, all handling different chunks of your catalog, you can finish this entire job within one working day, which is really incredible. So you go from being able to do this type of job already very fast, but it would take you a full month or more, down to less than one day, basically just one working day, 8 hours. That's pretty incredible. So in 8 hours, you could have 10,000 new high quality images to update your product catalog. And if you're saying to yourself, well, I don't have 10,000 products, but you might have 10,000 customers. So what that means is you can now create imagery specific to each of your customers. So that's hyper-personalization at scale. And what that would look like is something like this. Instead of everyone seeing one image, a static image of that product, now you can personalize that image in your catalog so that it speaks to your target user. This, I believe, will lead to more click-through rates and more sales. And I think this is pretty incredible, because effectively what ShopBirdy is going to be able to do, it's going to be able to just manage your entire storefront, including all of the images. It can take the data of your pricing, of your stock levels, of any information about that product, and create really nice imagery where that product is personalized and within a nice scene. So you can imagine that you can effectively treat all of your products, your images, as an asset. These images represent your product, so you want to manage them carefully and thoughtfully. And you might want to spend a little bit of your budget just on managing your images at all times. So now that I've analyzed both these images, I'm going to ask this agent to figure out where in my dev portal I should place these images. It knows the context, it understands what's in those images. So I'm going to say, based on the description of these two images, find a place in my codebase where these images could be embedded. Add them to the respective pages and update the code. So this is another great use case that saves you a ton of time. Once you have your images in your coding project and the agent knows what those images are, it can look through all your code to figure out where's a good place to add these images. What pages have the right context? If there's not a page that exists for this image, maybe the coding part can generate that page. So you can combine ShopBirdy with Cursor, for example, or Windsurf, or Visual Studio Copilot to completely transform how you build websites, online marketplaces, and other things. So it looks like it found a good place in the code base to insert this image, and it's done that. It says, let's go to the product photography workflow page, and we'll place the image there. And the second location is in the overview. And now those images have been added. I should be able to, okay, so there's going to be some errors, so I have to ask the agent, by making those changes, it actually introduced a small error. We can fix this. It looks like it's an error with the path of the image. So again, it's where the image is located, the folder structure and the file name. and it looks like that has fixed and is compiled successfully. So then we'll come back to this part, and I have to figure out which page that's on. It says there's an overview page. Let's see if I can find it. I have to click through. So here it is. So the this image, which actually is a table, but making these tables using image generation, actually you end up writing code. So it's more than just a natural language prompt. That does give you good results. But if you really want to have good consistency, good balance, just overall good design sense, good layout, effectively what you'll end up doing is you'll write image generation prompts like XML documents. So effectively it becomes another form of code, but it's code that a diffusion model or an image generation model can read from. And so yes, you can generate this using natural language prompts, but very likely you'll run into issues where there's some text missing or something is not laid out the right way. And to give you better results and more control, you really want to define it using almost like a code-like structure. So that's really super awesome. I've got to figure out where the other image is. So that's in the tools overview, and then it said that it put it in product photography. Product photography. I don't know. Where's product photography? Give me just a second here, guys. I might not even have a link to that page. Oh, here it is. So here's the image. So it actually found the right place to put this image in based on my code base, and I think it just massively enhanced my dev.shopbirdy.ai website, my developer portal. I think this is really awesome. And this entire image looks like a UI from an e-commerce store, but it was also generated completely using an AI image generation model. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I'm very happy that this worked essentially the first time. It's definitely required a lot of bug fixing, trial and error, but this is becoming really exciting. And the potential, I think, is absolutely massive. A lot of us are thinking in terms of image generation of maybe we'll generate a meme once in a while or a postcard every so often. But images are so foundational to social media and internet in general. And if you can think about managing all of your images almost as assets, especially if you're in a marketplace or you're actually trying to sell products, then you want to invest in making sure your product looks really great. And you can use this image across all of your other categories of media and advertising. Your email newsletters, your online marketing, blog posts, brochures. Really, it's almost an unbounded limit of potential. It's completely only limited by your creative ability, and even that is being massively unlocked using tools like ShopBirdy. So I'm really excited to have this available, and if you're interested, you can reach out. You can go to the ShopBirdy website, and there is documentation on how to use this. And if you want to get started with with an account, you can just reach out to me for access. There's an email listed here, and I would set you up with your own API key, which you can then use according to your pricing tier, and there will be a free tier you can then use to try it within your own environments. So that I hope you enjoyed, and we'll come back and try this very soon. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.